Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our January 2026 HRD Corp course review by Minda Sfera. We are just about to get started. If you can hear my voice and see the slides clearly, you may just put your message into the chats. So hopefully I would be able to see someone here. So we are going to give about another 5 more minutes for us to have a look in this course preview. If you are watching the replay on demand, feel free to skip ahead about another 5 minutes to 10 minutes, but stick around because we have a lot of value packed into this session. So with that, we are going to see each other again in 5 minutes again. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Vincent, the Operation and Education Manager here in Minda Sfera. Whether you are a business owner, an HR manager, or an executive looking to level up, you are currently in the right place. Today is about one thing to boost your company's productivity. We are not just talking about working harder, we are talking about working smarter. Today, I'm going to give you a behind the scene looking at three of our most HRD Corp claimable costs for our 2026. In the next 90 minutes, we are going to preview these three specific pillars of professional growth. Firstly, finance for non-finance executive. In order for you to understand the numbers, even you do not have any accounting background. The next one will be business communication and business English, mastering the art of clarity and professional influence. And lastly, time management through LaKa DC with AI. This is our most modern approach using AI tools to reclaim your schedule. To our live viewers, if any of these specific topics resonates with you, just type the name of the course in the chat right now, and I will be able to see, and also I will be more excited when I am trying to share about it. So a little bit of housekeeping. If let's say you have any questions, just put it inside the chat room or put it inside the comments. Just type in, and I will be able to respond to it, even though it is after that on demand. And these causes that I'm sharing to you are HRD Corp claimable causes. So these causes are fully claimable. If let's say you are looking for any causes or the funds to go and utilize a levy before this quarter end, then pay close attention to the learning outcomes. So if let's say you would want to have any other resource, then please go to our website www.mindasfera.com.my at any time during the course or during any time. So let's get down to business. Let's start with the foundation of every successful company, which is the numbers. So we are going to enter into the finance for non-finance executives part of it. So let me just switch through these slides. So yeah, I'm going to have that, right? So with that, I'm going to just start with this title. Are you leading in the fog? Usually these terms refers to that of whether you are going to lead the session or lead the company or sometimes lead the department. When you lead the department, you will definitely have some budget. I would say these budgets are very, very important because it affects how your department is moving. So in order for you to be able to lead the department properly, not only you need communication, but at the same time also you need to know how budget fares. If the budget does not apply to whatever that you have planned for it, then perhaps you may be asked to the board and get yourself complained for because of you are using this we call that the budget right, overshot. So I will say leading this leading all this kind of thing, we would need to have some number sense. If you do not have any number sense, it is hard for you to do a lot of planning, and sometimes you may also get yourself found yourself into trouble if you don't plan it properly. So next. So the next one is that, of course, you are expert in a lot of fields. It might be just human resources. It may be just coming from production, so on and so forth. But when the conversation turns into finance or turns into statistics, data, number, are you able to convey different languages based on whatever that is being shared? So I will say this department finance is very, very important, regardless of whether you are a leader or you are just an executive. So referring to this leadership, you need to know how to plan the numbers in order for you to plan properly on how these statistic plans. So with that, I would say the stakes are higher than you think when you are trying to be not confident in finance. And when you try to plan on it, you have to make sure that this financial confidence also brings to the leadership of the company of the organization. So if you are not financially confident, definitely you are going to see all this kind of problem. Let's say, for example, poor business and investment decisions. You have to also talk to your stakeholders, shareholders, a lot of people you have to approach to. So if you do not plan the numbers properly, probably you are going to be mentioned or going to be labeled as not qualified or not competent people. Besides that, you have also weakened partnership with finance, because finance department is the one that plans, gives you the budget, and also receives your claims, so on and so forth. If you do not plan it properly, finance department will see your budget overshoot, and they may also come to these complaints saying that, hey, how come you are using a lot of money just to apply or work on something else? Of course, sometimes we may get these plans not aligned with whatever that we have already planned as a budget, but these budgets needs to be in align with the company's goals, objectives, vision, and mission. Missed opportunity for profit is a definite one if you do not plan your budget properly. However, I would say based on this missed opportunities for profit is depending on which department that you are in. For example, if you are in sales department or you are in this marketing department, we know that currently if you want to attract people to have a look on your items or have a look on any other things, definitely is something that you need to know how to plan your budget so that you do not overshoot your budget in order for you to attract people. So it's like we have to check on the ratios, like for example leads per so for example how much is being allocated for leads, one of the lead. So with all this, we will need to make sure that this profit would be able to sustain and not flowing down the road, even though the so-called the cost had been increased. And the final one, stop career growth. If let's say you won't be able to see how these numbers are being placed on, then definitely you couldn't be able to lead the department, or sometimes you couldn't handle any leadership job. So because of this, you really need to understand on how this finance is taking impact towards your career. So it's actually a hurdle for all ambitious leaders, because regardless of what kind of leaders you are, even though you are charitable leaders, you also need to be sensitive in numbers. Let's look at the first one. We have executive and above. Definitely they are the one that takes the majority of the plans in. So when they plan on any kind of strategies, definitely these strategies needs to be cost effective. If it is not cost effective, then it will create problems, especially whether they would be able to achieve their objectives or their goals after they have already set it up. So all the goals, all the objectives, or even sometimes any strategies that they have already planned, they need to make sure that numbers had been placed in. If it couldn't be able to convert to numbers, then this is not considered as a good goal, or sometimes is a sometimes good objectives, because no one would be able to imagine how this can work. Of course, whoever who is down after that, like for example, after they have they have already discussed among the executives, the next one will be managers, will be the one that actually assess, or sometimes they may just start to allocate by utilizing their leadership skills. So numbers have been presented, so they have to prepare the profit and loss responsibility. I would say based on this manager role, it's not as easy as for example, a production manager, they just need to focus on just production tasks. For information, if let's say you take on just managerial tasks, you have to understand each and every single thing, including numbers, including data. So referring to any kind of aspiring managers, they need to be able to plan it, or not only on their strategy, but at the same time also numbers. They have to plan properly based on numbers that have been presented, and at the same time also have to make sure that these numbers are logical. If they are illogical, perhaps these plans might just bring problem, especially to those top management. So other than that, we have also some of the job specific roles, especially like, for example, the research and development department, especially their executives. Now, seems like they are doing the research and development. It seems like they do not need to know about how much they are going to spend on the department itself or their research. But for information, without having a single cent, it is having problem for them to actually plan for it. So they need to know how to read and also how to interpret the financial report. So they will be able to calculate how much contribution they have already contributed to the company's profit. So at the end of the day, they will be able to meet the board and say that I have already done this or I have already done that. So should I deserve something? For example, a promotion or sometimes even some bonuses. So if they are not sensitive, perhaps they may not be able to report all this kind of contributions that they already contributed to the company. And last but not least, for fresh graduates, usually we will say fresh graduates. They may say, oh, okay, I'm just new to the company, and I would just think of I just need to work properly in order for me to get, for example, just salary or sometimes bonuses. But fresh graduates needs to understand finance, especially on corporate. Why? If you enter into the wrong company, definitely is going to be a hassle for us. Now, for information, based on the statistics from Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, about more than 90% won't be able to sustain its company all the way until like 3 years. So if a fresh graduate joins the company, what happens? They need to bear this risk, the risk of having to look for another job again. So if they do not have this knowledge, perhaps this knowledge would be actually stored. And also at the same time, they may have problems understanding the company's position. And finally, they may just get a shock, for example, perhaps maybe just retrenchment letter. So this is not something that we want to see, but I will say regardless of whether you are a finance person or non-finance person, you need to understand corporate finance as much as you can. I will say, being as I've already gone through my university years under finance, for information is definitely tough, referring to just the finance itself. So that's why I would say you need to know a little bit of the basic one in order for you to be able to thrive during the time when you are in your job. So because of this, it is for you to find your way through the finance for non-finance executive course. So when we refer to that of finding your way, not referring to that of whether you should join in as a finance staff or not. You should think of why you should learn about finance. It can be because of you want to manage your personal finance. Of course, this is some of people who want to look for something. But I would say, if you are looking for moving up from executive level to managerial level, or even sometimes senior managerial level or the leadership level, you need to understand finance. I will say it's a total way, right? So you need to learn how to be clear in finance. And also at the same time, you need to also be confident on whatever reports that has been issued to us. So let's say, for example, after you have gone through our courses on finance for non-finance executives, perhaps you'll be able to build this financial confidence, make better business and investment decisions. And for information, investment decisions will be the one that actually more focused. Reason, because investment are the things that we actually can focus on, especially when we want to let our money work harder for us. So it is important for us to make sure that we would be able to see the parameters in finance properly before we make a decision or we confirm a budget. So other than that, we will be able to think of another way to improve the profit or cost or sometimes cash awareness. So all these profit, cost, cash awareness are the most important, I would say, most important resources for a company to get itself operate. If they do not have any profit, then they won't be able to just run the company. It can go all the way for loss for 3 to 5 years, but is it able for the company to move on after 5 years? This is something that we can have a look through their financial statements. A lot of companies, they have their own cost. For example, having a rental, or for example, having a marketing team running on marketing plans. So all these costs would need to be assessed properly so that it doesn't erode to the profit of the company. And finally, for cash awareness, refers to that of whatever that you have earned today, it does not necessarily convert it to cash. Convert it to the money that actually stuck in the company's bank account. So because of this, a lot of times when we try to assess the company, we will not only just assess the profit, but at the same time also the statement of cash flow, how the cash flows in and also how the cash flows out. And sometimes even we will ask whether this credit terms is too long or too short. So because of all this, finance for non-finance executives are most important for even sometimes the very, very usual stuff. And at the same time, also you will be able to strengthen your partnership with the finance team because they may just speak out jargons. And when they say, oh, the so-called the so-called profit PE ratio is not good. For example, all this kind of PE, or sometimes it may be just other kind of alphabet soup, right? Let me just make it in the layman term. These jargons, we will be able to understand it through this course itself, right? So you do not need to worry about why and how they mention it in a very simple way, but I would say because of all these kind of terms that comes in because they want to make it quick, we need to know, and also at the same time, in order for us to speak their language, it is important for us to understand them through a course. So because of this, I would say it is important for us to be able to understand finance words or finance terms in order for us to thrive in a corporate world. So understand the three vital signs of a business, regardless of whether it's your business or other people's business or even your boss business, right? So it's important for you to see these three statements. So the first statement would be the income statement. Sometimes in very simple term, we call it as just the statement that actually checks on money, right? Checks on whether it is earning or not. In accounting terms, they call it as the statement of profit and loss. So this statement of profit and loss actually checks on whether the company performs. If the company doesn't perform, perhaps they may just record a loss, or sometimes it may just incur a no profit and no loss situation. So these companies are actually, sometimes you have to really watch it, because these companies might not be able to sustain if the company keeps falling into the loss. Of course, financial health is another one. Even though sometimes a company earns profit, it doesn't mean that this company would have enough money to continue to move on, or sometimes whether it's able to expand. So whether you want to see the company would be able to expand, or whether it is going to shrink or not, you have to check through the financial health. Sometimes we call it as balance sheet, or sometimes we call it as the statement of assets and liabilities. Of course, the company needs to be able to survive. So how this company survive? They have to check whether the money is in the bank account or not. For example, any plans that have been planned through, you need to have money. You need to use cash to actually move these plans forward. However, if let's say you do not have any cash, so what are the things that they are using in order for them to run? For example, in a company, perhaps they may use assets to liquidate in order for them to run some plans. So if this is so, perhaps you will be able to see some of the companies, they are becoming emptier and emptier. Now, if let's say this is so, perhaps the cash flow is not healthy, even though they have recorded a massive, huge amount of profit, like for example, millions or sometimes billions. But if they do not have healthy cash flow, that company would have to call themselves default at the same time. So that's why these three vital signs of a business, you'll be able to learn it through the Finance for Non-Finance Executive course. So they are not just report, they are actually answers to whatever I've already mentioned just now, whether the company is profitable, in order for this company to continue to move on to the next level. So of course, in order for the company to move on to the next level, they have to make sure that they are financially sound. Referring to that of the company needs to be able to use asset or repay liabilities that they have inside their statements. So at the same time also, they have to make sure that they will be able to meet their obligations, especially like how to repay the debts, or repay the any kind of short-term borrowings or long-term debts. So they need to meet these obligations in order for them to maintain their credit record. And this credit record also affects the profitability of the company, because if the credit record is poor, banks won't be able to borrow enough money for the company to operate. And when they are trying to get their borrowings, they may have their interest rate higher compared to their industrial players. So this is not something that they want to have. Because of this, they all of us, even though we are just ordinary people, or we are not learning about finance, we need to learn a little bit about corporate finance by just having this course of finance of from for non-finance executives. So referring to this, it is actually a structured path to financial mastery. Of course, I won't be able to use this half an hour time for you to understand every single thing, like for example, statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, or sometimes statement of cash flow. But in this course, you will be able to have 10 comprehensive modules, and it is going very, very deep in order to improve your knowledge, for you to back up yourself to understand corporate finance. So you'll be able to understand how this basic accounting framework works, even though sometimes you may learn something about simple accounting principles or simple accounting concepts that has been implemented since hundreds of years ago. And some financial reports which I have already shared to you, like there are three. statement of financial position, statement of cash flow, and also statement of profit and loss. But there are actually a lot of other statements, especially for those companies which are currently in the board. When we refer to that of board means busa. So inside these boards, they may have a lot of new statements coming in, including, like, for example, the one that actually we mentioned a lot. We call it as the environmental social governance. So they may have these kind of statements, even though sometimes these statements might be just words, but it also contributes to finance situation. And finally, last but not least, understand the nature of assets and also liabilities. So all these may just contribute to your financial knowledge, and this financial knowledge will be helpful if you are planning to move up to the leadership role or managerial role from your current executive role, or if you want to be just an outsider, like for example an investor, or even sometimes you want to be the borrower. So you also need to understand how these statements works. If you don't, then you might just fall yourself into a trap, and this trap might be just using up all your money. So this is not something that we will want to see from you. So business is unique. Your business also is unique, regardless of what kind of business. For example, in my company, training business, so your training also has to be unique also. So because of this, even though there are 10 modules here, each of the 10 modules will be totally different from for each and every organization or each and every industry that actually we are exposing to. So rest assured, as long as you approach us, we are going to do some planning for you, and this planning would be actually tailored for you. We don't care how different it is, but all these trainings would be definitely suitable for your industry and also for your company. So let's change confusion into confidence, and let's look at financial data with strategic decisions without having any panics. So I would say, if you would want to make sure that you will be able to be confident in managing finance, even sometimes personal finance, the confusion has to be cleared off. So this is your time for you to change yourself from confusion to confidence. So with that, I will say, don't just run your department, don't just run yourself, lead the business, lead yourself to invest, to do any kind of investment task, and also kind of financial what we call that, the strategies of financial decisions based on yourself and not other people. So with that, I would end this part, because this finance for non-finance would actually only one of the topics that I'm going to share today. So we have another 2 more topics that is upcoming, right? So since we have already ended this, the next one we are going to have is business English and also business communication. And later at the later part of the session, we are going to have this the time management course. So I'm going to just move on by just switching the topic and also switching the slides. Just hang on, and I'm going to just move on to the next one. So while we have this, let me just make this proper, right? So am I moving on? Okay, so we have another one here. All right, so let me just put it up. Okay, yeah, this is the next one that we are moving on. So referring to business, we need to have communication. Just now when we talk about finance, yes, you need to understand about numbers. You need to understand about how you'll be able to communicate with the finance. You can see the word communicate comes in, especially when this what we call that, the different departments comes into it. Sometimes even interpersonal one, right? We can't run away from communication as long as, even though sometimes two people inside your company, right? So because of this, business English and also communication mastery would be also another part of it that we are actually focused on, right? In order for you to bridge the gap between any technical talent and also any stakeholders, shareholders that actually you are trying to approach on, right? So let us not waste time by just moving on to the next one, all right? So next, all right, so currently we have some gaps in global marketplace that we have some reality there. The reality is that technical skilled people, they talk about their jargons. And then finally, when we try to try to approach those people who are not really in this, they may say, okay, what is that? I don't really understand what you say, right? Like just now when we talk about finance, they talk about financial jargons, they talk about financial alphabet soup, you might not be able to understand, right? So this is the reality. Even though sometimes we say, like for example, I'm speaking to you all. When I speak, I understand what I'm planning to say that comes out from my mouth, but it doesn't comes into your brain because you might have some internal noise, you might have some a prior understanding on whatever that you have understood from your environment. But the reality is still there that you won't be able to understand anyone if your channel, what we call it a channel, it means the so-called the waves itself, you are not synced with them, then you won't be able to get what they are saying. So when it applies to business, it becomes a proficiency gap. And this proficiency gap would cost you a lot. For example, you might have to meet that person for a lot of times in order for you to make one job done. So because of this, it involves cost. And this cost itself, it might be just an opportunity cost. When we say opportunity cost, means the cost that had been taken out and it is not realized in money, in the money terms or in data terms, but it just have the chance got off. So this is not something that we would want to have, especially this involves international collaborations or international counterparts, because we do not want to have a lot of this kind of opportunity for us to earn foreign currency to get out. It is a definite one. And the final one is the goal. For example, the leadership, it might be just the company leadership, or it may just be the organizational leadership. If they are trying to share something, and that particular something is going to be tough enough for those people who are in their executive level, do you think the goal achievable? Because they don't understand. Perhaps it might be just like, for example, it might be foreigners, right? They don't understand the words that is being presented under the company goal. So if this really happens on that person, then let's not talk about whether you will be able to achieve the goal or not. Let's talk about how you want to communicate with them first, because they don't really understand the words. Then they would just say, never mind lah. The leadership is going to have their own TV show again. So just leave the TV shows aside. Now, this situation can create problem, especially this involves departmental or interdepartmental collaborations. So in order for you to bridge these gaps, you need to master a few business communication or business English skills. So in our Minda Sfera's business courses, I would say business communication and business English, these two courses are totally two different courses, but these two different courses in the difference of days, this is the first one, and also difference of the depthness of the course. So I will say based on English, we know that English is quite easy, and I'm currently speaking English, but it is actually just more than vocabulary. It's actually on the behavioral approach, especially when communication steps in. We have language because we want to communicate. So usually when we try to assess something, we will start from standard. These standards are actually, I will say, is not really that flexible, but it's systematic. We assess someone through the standard. In the European framework, we have the CFR standard, but when we try to communicate, we might not be able to use CFR standard just like that. Yes, I will say CFR standard is good enough in order for them to assess our proficiency level, for our ability to use English properly. But a lot of times when we talk about communication, we can't run away from how well we go in depth by just like, for example, sharing the same context. So all this under the mind acceptance structuring. It seems like this structure is not the structure that we actually usually see. So that's why here we are actually implementing not only on the standard that is being offered globally, but at the same time, the standard that we should have when we try to communicate. So if let's say today I'm sharing something that is not really understandable, like for example, I'm sharing about finance. I'm a finance expert, but you are not. So you might be not be able to understand what I say at all, even though it's a 1.5 session or even it's a whole day session. You are going to get everything blank, and you are going to say, I don't understand at all what Vincent had to say. So with that, it becomes a communication barrier. And this communication barrier requires you to use your mind structurally to connect together, right? And the core essence of this communication comes into psychology, and not to forget science as well, right? Even though you may say science, in order for me to understand science, in order for us to understand science, we need to use language to understand it. But how can we explain in language that an apple can fall from the tree? So because of this, science becomes another core essence of using the language itself. So it's actually when we try to talk about science and psychology, we are actually using the behavioral model in psychology in order for you to understand how to communicate with someone which is not at the same level or not at the same wavelength with you. So actually, it's about moving out any kind of usual business English models or business communication model that has been shared in order for you to master communication well through some mind activity. So these mind activities would actually help you to be able to communicate or be able to be to feel empathic or sympathetic to those people who are listening to you. So there are two pillars of professional mastery. I will say these are the two causes that is going to make a difference. So in this, I will start with business communication first, which is the cause two that actually takes on mostly on the output itself. The output refers to that of we speak out and also we write out. So means it's actually focusing on writing and also speaking. So as what I'm doing now, I'm actually doing this speaking. So perhaps this would actually create impact to you when I'm trying to say something that is going to be shock enough to you, or sometimes it may be just impressive enough to you. So I may use some of the techniques, like for example, storytelling or mind mapping, in order for you to understand what I'm presenting. So unfortunately, because today I do not have some sessions for me to draw something, so I might not be able to show you through drawings, right? But I will be able to present it to you through storytelling by just speak out something that I think is easy for you to understand. Because everyone loves listen to story. So if let's say you are joining business English, we are going to not only focusing on the outputs which refers to speaking and also writing, but at the same time also listening and finally reading. These two are important. Why I say it's important is because if you don't listen, if you don't read, you don't understand what your client says. Means if a client says something to you, but you just want to respond to whatever that you think, then you are not answering the question. The client will think of you, hey, am I speaking to the person or am I just speaking to a chatbot? So sometimes chatbot might not be able to give you the correct answers, but I will say if you do not respond to the client based on their requirement, it is akin like you are trying to be the chatbot itself, right? So of course, we do not want to be chatbots because you are going to compete yourself with a lot of AI chatbot out there, right? So because of that, business English will be the cost for you to go in order for you to pick up the human warmth skills. The so-called human warmth is very important. You can see that nowadays, even though AI is conquering the world, but AI couldn't bring human warmth to the client, to the customer, or even sometimes to your stakeholders and shareholders. So presenters are always the best person to do all the presenting job. Means you need to have the real person. If you do not have the real person, then it's akin like you are actually competing with the AI chatbot, which is currently popular and also very, very advanced out there. So we'll start from business English first. So what happened is that in business, you need to use a specific language. You cannot say that, oh, I'm talking it like, for example, this way. I'm presenting this in this way, like for example, in a very layman term or in a very jargon one. So you will feel like it is not actually business enough because a lot of times, of course, business they have their own jargons, but business itself sometimes you need to especially in Asian countries, you need to be able to come out from a very formal situation. But if let's say you are working with European countries or US countries, perhaps business English, the way of how business should portray themselves should have been placed when they are speaking, they are writing, they are reading, and also they are doing their presentation. So I would say having this general English to business English would be the core skill under business English, right? In order for you to, of course, upgrade your CFR level, but this is not the core of all these business English courses, right? So I will say for this CFR is for you to let other people understand that you are actually using English proficiently. So of course, at the same time, a lot of European countries and also US countries counterparts, they look at grammar very seriously. But you may say, this grammar is something that everyone should have already understood, right? This is not necessary. Especially among Malaysians, there are some of them, they are actually not using this grammar well. If let's say you were to catch whatever that I'm saying, actually you also find some grammar errors, grammatical errors. It's quite usual among Malaysians because it is about fluency when we talk about communication. So we can't say that it's something that has to be business enough in order for us to convey the message because sometimes it might not be able to engage the audience well. So because of this, perhaps grammars, sentence structure will be the basic that actually we have to master it properly before we will be able to move on to the next level. And that next level will be the way for us to synchronize the ability for us to use proper grammar in our conversation. So with all that, I would say is sometimes for business English, you need to focus more on like reading and also this listening, because these two will be the core part of it. And after that, you will be able to capture the correct message in order for you to get it properly. And at the same time, also to train you on how to capture, we will have the find and error session, and this find and error session is considered as an interactive activity. So of course today I won't be able to do it because of the first thing is a live one, and the second one is it's not easy for me to conduct a real session currently. But I will say in business English and also business communication, we will actually implement some interactive activities inside. So moving on to boardrooms, especially on this when you try to learn it in business English, of course, this will be critical enough for you to, like, for example, do some note taking. Of course, nowadays we have in the market, we have Gemini, we have a lot of other AI tools can help you to do the listening and also note taking. But again, human warmth is focused. If you do not have this human warmth, then it's just like it's just a visual data, and this data might not be useful for you to move on for your execution. Sometimes they may just capture information that might not, but that you might not think that is important, but at the end of the day, they just take it. So because of this, story to idea listening is very important. Even though you may say, I can ask AI to help. Yes, definitely you can use AI, but you still need to put your own words inside in order for you to really get the real essence of all these kind of messages. And at the same time, also to understand how to do some scanning and skimming, which is vital for your job. Because for your task, you might not have time for you to read emails, which sometimes might be long because of some reports. It might be also referring to that of you may receive too many emails, and these emails might be just overwhelming with a lot of words, a lot of messages. So it might burn you out, but skimming and scanning would actually help you to reduce this kind of burnouts. But for example, in order for you to quicken the understanding of the message, you might just start with scanning. You scan through the message first before you start to catch keywords from the message in order for you to be able to focus on the data itself. And at the same time, also, after you try to read through all the messages and also try to capture the listening skills, you'll be able to do a decision better. Now, in our activity, we have so-called a be the boss, because we will ask someone to do some activity. Like, for example, you have to write a proposal within a short period of time, and you need to show how well you'll be able to communicate with your audience. Or sometimes it might be just your employer, or it might be just people who are out there. And finally, the outcome itself is for you to elaborate your ideas properly. So, and for information, business communication is for you to focus on influence with psychological intent. Means you need to really communicate with the wavelength that other people has, and at the same time yours. So you are the presenter, you are the person who communicate or convey the message out. You need to make sure that your wavelength can be able to enlarge or diminish according to your audience. So referring to this, really have to put some psychological intent. For example, you can see in the brain diagram here, you have empathy, you have clarity, you have persuasion, influence, de-escalation, understanding, so on and so forth. So you are going to use all these techniques in order for you to restructure your ideas. Sometimes the ideas might be just pop it from nowhere, but these ideas are indeed important for you to do your session sharing. For example, I have this session today. I have to share about the course that is going to be the essence of what you would be able to learn in this course. So can't run away from, I have to structure my ideas so that my ideas won't jumble around and then you won't hear like, hey, how come Vincent share about business communication and then after that suddenly it switched to about switch to personal finance, or sometimes it switch to other places. So all this requires the structuring of ideas, and these structuring of ideas are very, very important in order for you to understand how these people capture your messages with a focus one, right? And then after that, on scenario training, we have this session in our business communication, the best customer service officer, because you have to de-escalate or press down an anxious customer by using some indirect messages. For example, if the person is currently anxious, you can't be too happy, right? So if you are too happy, then something is wrong. So you need to really communicate by using your own wavelength, and that wavelength definitely not to be a joyful wavelength. So because of this, business communication has to impose some for psychological intent, and this psychological intent you will be able to find it through our business communication course. So, and at the same time, also in presentation, we know that we can't run away from presentation. Like for example, what I'm doing now. For example, what you are going to do now, do it in the near future or maybe later. So all this requires your confidence. So how you show your confidence is through your body, right? It's through how you convey your message through your body languages. Like for example, if I am very, very nervous, definitely I will be able to show it through my body language. Like for example, I'm vibrating my hands, right? Or sometimes I may have my languages too fast because I want to convey the message in a very fast way, or I just scared that I will be able to forget all those information that I want to present. So now, if this is so, then the confidence is the one that actually you have to convey it not only through your language, but at the same time also through your body itself. So at the same time, for vocal precision, at the same, yes, it is also another one that, like for example, if I'm in low energy today, I need to make sure that my energy level is high enough so that I will be able to let you all capture the message properly. If let's say I am sharing in the low energy level, perhaps you won't be able to capture anything. So because of this, the vocal precision would be very focused when you try to present something. For example, you are not confident about a project, but you still have to share about a project. So it will happen to be the project itself might not be the message that you bring to them, but nervous the nervous feeling will be the one that actually the audience will be capturing. So this is not something that you want. But at the same time, without having any body language, without having any vocal or noise or these languages, it's actually nothing. So both of them have to be combined in order for you to deliver your message in a proper way through the technique of storytelling. So in the course of this business storytelling, you definitely use some storylines in order for you to communicate or connect with whoever you are presenting. So with that, I actually, for presence and delivery, I would say this part would be actually offered not only in business communication, but also in business English. So indeed, it's not going to be just pure lecture like how I'm doing now, because this course preview session will be definitely lecture. But I would say in the course itself, it may not be lecture. it is actually an experience for you, because we are going to have some digital engagement for you by just have some games inside. For example, as you can see in the graphics itself is Kahoot. And at the same time, sometimes you may also have to run some role play by just like, for example, you have to be the executive in order for you to present in front of the stage. And then others will be the employers or sometimes investors, for them to invest their money into the project or into the company that you are presenting on. And at the same time, also the environment, right? So we will create an environment that is some sort of, you are going to learn the lecturers or the trainers itself. So who is this for? Is for those people who are currently age 18 years and above, and then they will be able to understand English conversation and also basic Malay, because we are going to input some local elements in. So definitely you would be able to understand it through a basic language in English, right? In order for you to use understand in a higher level English. It's a definite one. You need to be able to understand proper English first. So that's why we have some criteria here by having this minimum credit in SPM or equivalent levels. So I will say this, consider this as some challenges for everyone, because it is not as easy as you think, especially when you want to use English conversation in business. So that's why we plan for this course, and we hope that these courses will be able to help corporates improve the English level for the companies. So this is going to be your new professional profile by just not only having just like, for example, a specific skills, but at the same time, communication skills. Usually communication skills, you might not be able to acquire, you might not be able to list it down, but when you try to do your presentation, this will be something that you are going to see very clearly. Even though you don't mention it, you don't put it inside your CV, or you don't put it inside any skills that you have already learned. For example, technical skills, you can just list it easily. But for communication skills, you only can see it through, and sometimes you may show it through your interviews or your presentation itself. So because of this, it is important for you to improve yourself by just having a good communication skills, because communication skills will be the basic bridge for you to communicate your technical skills and also outsiders, for example, stakeholders, shareholders, or even sometimes your interviewers. So in order for you to improve, it is encouraged for you to join our session in business communication and also business English. Of course, you will be able to learn more than whatever that you have seen here, other than the skills acquired, like, for example, having these effective business documents and presentations construction, or you may have some mindful ideas for you to structure it properly, or even sometimes you may have some conversable and a precise English when you are trying to communicate. But others, I hope that you can have a look on this course, because this course will be very precisable on how you will be able to use proper English, and at the same time use a business English at the same time when you try to present. All right. So these are our intakes. This for information, these are business communication courses that is going to be offered publicly for you to start your transformation. The first one will be on 8th of February. The next one will be on 1st of March. So these courses are allowing you to do your public course sign up. All right, you can just sign up even though you have, like for example, your boss asks you to go and attend to this course. Then what you can do is that you just need to go to our website to just sign up for the course, even though it is HRD Corp claimable. You want to submit for your HRD Corp levy. If let's say you want to submit your HRD Corp levy for this course, you just need to send an email to inquiry@mindasfera.com.my in order for you to get this course totally free of charge. Okay, you just need to come and attend to the course. All right. So secure a seat today, because for information, the seats are very, very limited, only limited to 15 people. So that's why it's important for you to take your action now. So with that, I would end this business communication and business English sharing session. Okay, and telling you that the future is totally global. So if let's say you don't use English well, especially when a lot of trades and a lot of this investment are coming in, English is the most important skill that you need to pick it up. If you don't pick it up, sooner or later, you have to pick it up as well. So because of this, do not let any language barrier, especially the English barrier, to your technical situation or technical potential. Because if you do not place this properly, you do not have these communication skills properly, at the end of the day, you won't be able to thrive in your current corporate job, right? So with that, I am ending this business English and business communication session, and I'm going to switch to the next session, and this next session will be referring to time management. So referring to time management, I will say it's not as what you have you're thinking on, like you may say time management. Every whoever who is working currently is having some issues in managing or juggling their time. Sometimes they may have to work on OT, so on and so forth. So let me just switch this, and just hold on, let me full screen it. Okay, so let me move on to this. Okay, and yeah, okay. So the next one will be on time management. So referring to time management, we will say that a lot of times we know what kind of things that we should do, what kind of things that we shouldn't do, especially when, let's say, for example, you are currently in your work now. So you should not have attended this session, right? But if let's say you check through properly, sometimes there are some of the tasks that you should do, some of the tasks that you shouldn't do during the specific point of time period. So it is it's actually entirely my course, and at the same time also this course itself, it's being designed with some proper theory and also some AI skills that you'll be able to pick it up. Okay. At the same time also there will be some free perks for you for this course, because there will be utilizing AI. So this AI itself is we will say is actually the current trend, right? So actually, I have to briefly introduce myself because of course I'm the operation and education manager, which I have already introduced it just now, but I don't show it on the screen. And I will say this course preparation is something that it takes a long time for us as a trainer, because for information, if we were to plan a course, we would need to take about at least 1 week for us to understand the client situation. After that, we have to also do our presentation. So all these are actually time consuming. So for information, all this requires time and also requires a lot of brain power. So that's why it's important for us as trainer to conserve our brain power on only training, but not on preparation. But for information, preparation is indeed needed. So how we manage our time? We need to manage our time in a wisely manner by just arranging it through the time when we are not having any training sessions, by just starting to plan. And at the end of the day, when we try to share it to the employers, when we share it to any staffs, we need to use that energy, especially on communication, to this group of people, but not on planning. So that's why sometimes planning, we will also use AI as part of our companion, but not entirely. And last time I was a financial advisory company admin. So actually for information, because it was a small firm, I have to handle a lot of tasks. For me, myself, I handle 3 departments within a small company. So because of this, I have to be able to manage my time properly so that I don't go for OT. I don't go for during working during the time when I should have relaxed myself, especially during weekends. So it's important for you to manage your time, okay, by just planning on the productivity itself. So this is why here I'm presenting this time management skills for everyone. But I will say this session will be actually experimental. Okay, so let me just move on. So how precious time is. Ask yourself, can you buy time? When we say buy time means I buy this I buy another 24 hours for me to live another 24 hours and work for 24 hours. Everyone are equal. You can only have 24 hours per day. You can have 48 hours, but how? You couldn't, right? 48 hours, you just take 2 days. But for you to get another one more day, you have to employ other people, right? Yeah, yes, you may say that technically you'll be able to buy time. But sometimes whatever that we have already done, we can't go back in time. Let's say, for example, I feel like I am totally empty. Like for example, maybe last year I have a lot of times which is might be wasted for, like for example, looking for clients, so on and so forth. But can we go back to time to do the same thing again? We couldn't, because time goes on. It goes. It doesn't come back unless we have maybe time machine in the future, right? But perhaps this time machine might not be uh, practicable in the future, in the very near future, but perhaps we don't know, okay, what will happen. But let's say, seriously, today you do not have much time. Then what you are going to do? Think of it. If let's say you have enough time, of course, that won't be problem for you. But how many hours for you is considered enough for you as one day? For example, you are working at 8 hours per day. But we know that actually there are a lot of situations that can happen during the time when you are working. So perhaps sometimes you may have to go for OT. If let's say you get every day you have to go for OT, then should you think of it as something that you need to take up? So for information that's referring to how many hours are enough, I would tell you, even though for leaders, giving them 3 days per day is not enough. Means you get, like for example, 72 hours per day. For them it's not enough at the same time. But how, if let's say you do not have such enough time, so how long do you need? Even though I give you 100 hours per day, it is not enough as well. So because of this, time, you need to manage it. If not, then you are going to be in the time hole. You are going to juggle around, like for example, every day you wake up and then after that you have to work. After you work, like even though 9 o'clock 10 p.m. in the night, you still can't go back, and then after that you go home at 12, and then after that you repeat the same cycle again and again for all the big days. And then after that weekends, you might also repeat the same thing. So this is not something that we want, because everyone is moving through a burnout, if let's say this is the case. Ask yourself now. Of course, listening to me it might be quite busy. You're not alone. I'm now busy because I'm talking to you, all right? But at the same time, some of you might be just listening, and at the same time also juggling around with all the jobs, right? So for information, there are reasons why you are always busy. The first one, we have rubber time culture. What is rubber time? Rubber time means actually we are taking the rubber, refers to the rubber band that we have, right? Now, when we say rubber time culture, means we should have arrived. For example, later you should have arrived at your lunch meeting at 12 p.m. Okay, now 12 p.m. is the time point that you should arrive now. Unfortunately, you have my session now that appears to be only ended at 11:30, right? And then moving from your place to that lunch meeting, it might be just half an hour exactly. And unfortunately, I delayed the session all the way until 11:45, for example. And then you only left 15 minutes. And then within the 15 minutes, definitely you are not able to arrive at the place. And then you may just call the person who is currently whom you are going to meet for a lunch meeting, saying that now I'm already on the way. We'll be there in we will usually say we'll be there in 10 minutes. We will always mention that. But you just left your house at 11:45, not 11:30. And this comes problem because you won't be able to arrive within 15 minutes. So because of this, even though people say, hey, I'm going to just another one more turn, I will arrive. But this, the so-called one more turn is actually still a few more turns and few more traffic jams. So this is not something that we hope for, especially when we are the person who wait for the person. But at the same time, also it happens. I would say it's some sort of Malaysian culture that even though those people who are important or not important, we have rubber time. We always say, "Oh, I'm currently on the way," but actually, then when we say it's on the way, they just left the house or they just left the office. So this is not something that we hope for, but indeed, this had already impeded into our culture. That we may say, yeah, it's quite common nowadays, and also, even though sometimes I would say it's quite I don't dare to talk to those foreigners, especially when they say we really want to be there at 12 p.m. but we are still at our office or at our place at 11:45 because it is very very dangerous. Okay, yes, they will say that. Oh, are we serious or not? Right? And at the same time, sometimes we have urgent meetings, and these urgent meetings, especially among Malaysian culture, we cannot say no. This experience this, but I would say this culture might be also another situation that also stem into our nation and also our culture. So that's why sometimes when we say, "Hey, urgent meeting is coming up," and then after that we have to forego any planned activities that we have. And usually, for information, planned activities are always the one being cancelled, even though it is very very important and urgent. So because of this, sometimes we may also off out to some opportunity cost. I will say all these stem under the habit and also the mindset that we have when we try to plan for our time. So how are we able to eliminate this so-called I'm going to be here at in 10 minutes, but you are going to be there only by 30 minutes habit. This habit you need to be able to segregate through a systematic way. And I'm going to share you a few today so that you can gain something. So, oops, I pressed the, okay. So tasks are completed in 2 days, but only needs 2 hours. All right. This is quite usual among corporates, and because of the high cost of presentism, okay, is at work but not productive means they are actually working in front of you. They are, you may say that physically they are there, but mindfully they are not there. Okay, so this is what really happens among Malaysian culture because of the most important thing that happen: external noise and internal noise within them and beat out the. I will say these external noise and internal noise are quite common nowadays, especially when psychologically everyone is quite panicked. So, referring to this, I will say, of course, you can practice some wellness practices, but sometimes it won't be as easy as perform some wellness rituals. You'll be able to cancel off all this kind of thing, right? So, and at the same time also, there are a lot of things, especially I would think most of the Malaysian companies, they are having this issue because Malaysians are having a lot of SMEs, and this task priority, they say that they want it now. I think these words is quite common among people who are working nowadays, right? So yeah, I want it now, so I have to do it now. All right. And actually, I had an experience during the time when I'm working with a financial advisory company. Yeah, employer says now, and regulator also says now. So which one I have to take it? It's both urgent and important, and which one I have to take up first. So these are the things that actually we have to prioritize. We have to put number one and number two properly, so that we will be able to meet all the deadlines. So I have a simple tips for you, regardless of whether you are handling your personal time management or you are handling your corporate time management, workspace time management. Remember to categorize the events, and these events needs to label it as either it is important or it is urgent, right? And sometimes it can be both, sometimes it can be none, right? So I would present a little bit on importance first. So referring to important, when we say important means it can sometimes can cost you a life, right? It can cause you to change something, it can cause you to lose your job. So with that, we call that as important because it affects you entirely. Okay, so that's why I put it as it is very strong, right? And then focus, when we say when this thing is important, whether we should put focus or not, the answer is a definite yes. You need to put everything, all your concentration. You can say, if let's say it might not be if let's say it's not 100%, you also have to put 80% of the focus to any important task, and never ever get distracted from that particular task itself. For example, you are trying to plan something for your client. It's a definite one. You cannot leave beyond your focus. If let's say you are out of focus, then you are not going to get your task engaged. And finally, when you try to plan, it might not be something that it is workable or for applicable for your. So this would be this is what we mean here. So whatever I'm doing now, I that's important because I need to put 100% of my concentration to life or to any course previous that I'm doing now. So I cannot drain my mind away for, like, for example, I have to handle my next appointments, so on and so forth. This is a definite no, right? Now, the time requirement, you whether you should allocate time or not, the answer is definite yes, because you need to use your focus. When you need focus, you need time. This is actually a definite one, right? So when we refer to time requirement, you need to put it specifically, and you put your time as specifically urgent, specifically red line. You couldn't move this time slot away. So it's specifically required because you can fail if you don't arrange it properly, right? And then, for example, just an important task for example, a technician. You say perform machine checks by a technician every day, because, like, for example, if you are referring to a flight technician, you should have checked the flight before the flight takes off, right? If you don't check, something happens to the flight, then the technician is going to get liable. So this, because of this, those flight attendants, they have their shifts, they have their own schedule, and they have their own reports, because these are important tasks for them to do it. Yeah, sometimes we also meet some tasks which are both important and urgent, but let's talk about focus on urgency, right? So referring to urgency, referring to its impact, is still strong, but when it is strong, it refers to only to your own mind itself. It doesn't really happen to the surrounding. But when it is urgent and important, this is the other case, right? So for focus, sometimes you may not require much focus on an urgent task, but it is marked for some events, especially when you pair important and urgent tasks together, right? And for time requirement, whether you need the time or not, for information is a definite one. When it really happens, you need to spend your time immediately for that task, because sometimes you just need to go for it, right? So for example, going to a washroom after a long travel, because when you are having a long travel, you sit in a vehicle, and then after that you couldn't go for a relax, and definitely you need to go out for your for your nature call. This is definitely normal. So for like you have already traveled for 3 to 4 hours, it's definite a panic for you. If you don't go for it, then you are going to just settle a natural call anywhere that you are everywhere you are. So because of this, it is urgent, okay, especially going to the washroom. So now, before doing anything, please categorize first if the event is both urgent and important, or it is just important, or it's just urgent, right? So usually only one applies, but if let's say the events are both urgent and important, then how? Okay, now this question is quite usual, right? Because some of the participants that look for me say that, oh, okay, my whatever my boss said is totally urgent and important. Okay, so how are you going to split it? Okay, remember, always take care of yourself first, right? Yourself is always urgent, okay, but not necessarily important, because referring to importance, because you are still in the job, so you still have to focus on your job. So that's why importance is not placed on you, but urgent is on you. Okay, urgent on you, importance on the task. So you handle your task, and after that, urgent, okay, urgent task, okay, like for example, going to the washroom, okay, or going for your lunch. Yes, these are the things that you have to do it. Go for it, right? But important tasks, let's not forget about it. All right. Okay, now a lot of times we have this issue. We have both urgent and important tasks. Let's say, for example, I still remember regulator call my department, okay, just asked me to clarify something, and they said that I need it by today, I need it by evening. And at the same time, my employer also asked me to do something. Oh, this is a total panic. Okay, now what happened is that we can do something by just arranging it properly. Okay, now for information, we have this LaKa DC, and this LaKa DC, if let's say you go through a search, actually you might not be able to search it, but I would say these are the two method time management techniques for you to be able to reduce any occurrences of both urgent and important events, right? So, and at the same time, it helps you to reduce any conflicts of tasks. Like for example, just now my case where regulator call me and also my employer call me to do tasks, and the task has to be settled within the day off. So with that, we have to be able to be smart in order for us to arrange all this kind of thing, right? It, of course, when you are able to handle task conflicts and improve productivity, automatically you will reduce your burnouts among the employees, among even though sometimes with your whoever stakeholders and shareholders, because it will reduce any distraction. And a lot of times we may say it is already habit. Sometimes you may say urgent and important for me is already it's already an just normal things for me. So if let's say this is so, then what happened? That's why we come in with something, we call it as AI. Okay, ask AI to do something. For example, repetitive works. Like for example, if let's say you are doing your data entry job, okay, perhaps you may also offer your company a solution like asking them to adopt AI right? And then go for certain courses like do some AI automation, so on and so forth, right? But a lot of times automation is not as easy as that. So that's why I would recommend you all to go and explore some of the companies who help you to plan your AI automation, right? Don't waste time on that because this is not something that you want to have. All right. And then for us to use AI, and actually it is now, because if you don't use it now, other companies are going to use it, and you are going to compete between your job load and also other people's job load. And you can see that there are a lot of layoffs nowadays. So AI is the way forward for you to pick up something, right? And at the same time, also, I will offer you during this course with something, with an AI automated timetable for you to be able to arrange your work schedule so that you won't be able to listen to so much noise around you on your work, and to improve your productivity level on especially urgent, sometimes urgent, but sometimes important tasks, right? So AI will help you to do something like, for example, formulate the best combination of time, how you will be able to arrange it properly. And sometimes it also will help you to make the most out of time slot availability by just slot in, like, for example, a few appointments before you go home. Or sometimes it may also help you to arrange some lunch appointments. So all this will help you to improve your productivity by giving you the maximum duration of a task, and also limit you from overthinking on a task, because overthinking also is part of burnouts that actually happens among the staff. So with that, actually, I will say it will help you to improve your wellness in your task as well. So this course help you to actually arrange priorities, how you should place your task on, right? At the same time, either you use AI or you don't use AI. Okay, you'll be able to learn this. At the same time, also you would solve some task conflicts with the help of AI, okay, or with the aid of AI. And then after that, develop some supervising skills on your time, right? And also develop your time management skills at the same time, formulate better work schedules, and also exploring time autonomy. I will say, if let's say you are employers and you want to make sure that your staff won't leave you as soon as maybe these few months, okay, perhaps you have to invite your staff to attend to this course, because the time autonomy is the key for them to make sure that they will be able to manage their time, and then they won't feel panic when they come to work. So you should attend if let's say you feel tired, even though you are an employer or you are an employee. Yes, you are welcome to attend. And then at the same time, let's say you meet a lot of challenges when meeting deadlines, maybe you have a final hour or final minute job, okay, this is something that mindset has to be changed. And also you are always struggle to set your priorities on, right? So this is the course that actually I've already arranged. Okay, so this would be on 8th of March, which is on Sunday, now from 9 to 5 p.m. And the place is in Setia Alam. The fee is 480 per participant. Up to this point, if let's say you are still watching, or if let's say you are still within this time, within this deadline, okay, of 31st of January, you can still sign up this course by getting a discount, right? So this one is only for self-pay. For those who are signing up with HRD Corp claimable of HRD Corp levy, you only get this fee at 418 per participant. So if let's say you are self-paying, then you can just type through by just scanning this QR code, and then after that you can just type this 16 Jan off before you check out through the coupon code, and then when you key in this, you are going to get 81 ringgit off, only 399 ringgit for this course. So I will say this would be the total presentation from me. And I hope that this productivity series of course preview benefit you. and hope that we will be able to see you again in the courses and also in other course previews, which I would want to say that in this upcoming 16th of January, I'm going to do another course preview for other courses, and particularly for personal finance course. So with that, I would end this session today, right? With this hope that you will be able to master your time, master your task, and also finally master your career. With that, I will end this session with thank you to everyone, and also hope to see you again in the future sessions.